Welcome to another episode of New York Gilbert and Sullivan Players' Patterpalooza Project. I'm founder and artistic director Albert Bergeret. Contrary to popular belief, not all patter songs are meant to be sung as fast as possible. In H.M.S. Pinafore, Sir Joseph Porter, K.C.B., tells the story of his rise from office boy to ruler of the Queen's Navy in 6 deliberately paced verses quite befitting his character. Sir Joseph is Gilbert's satirical caricature of the very real W.H. Smith, a bookseller who was appointed to England's first Lord of the Admiralty despite his lack of naval experience. However, upon viewing H.M.S. Pinafore and demonstrating an admirable sense of humor, the bookseller dubbed himself Pinafore Smith and sang Sir Joseph's patter song publicly throughout his life. NIGAS veteran Richard Holmes has portrayed multiple characters in many of the Gilbert and Sullivan works, including roles other than the Patter Man. Here he sings Sir Joseph's amusing recitation, "When I Was a Lad."
When I was a lad, I served a term as office boy to an attorney's firm. I cleaned the windows and I swept the floor, and I polished up the handle of the big front door.
He polished up the handle of the big front door.
I polished up that handle so carefully that now I am the ruler of the Queen's Navy.
He polished up the handle so carefully that now he is the ruler of the Queen's Navy.
As office boy, I made such a mark that they gave me the post of a junior clerk. I served the writs with a smile so bland, and I copied all the letters in a big round hand.
He copied all the letters in a big round hand.
I copied all the letters in a hand so free that now I am the ruler of the Queen's Navy.
He copied all the letters in a hand so free that now he is the ruler of the Queen's Navy.
In serving writs I made such a name that an articled clerk I soon became. I wore clean collars and a brand new suit for the pass examination at the Institute.
For the pass examination at the Institute.
That pass examination did so well for me that now I am the ruler of the Queen's Navy.
That pass examination did so well for he that now he is the ruler of the Queen's Navy.
Of legal knowledge I acquired such a grip that they took me into the partnership. And that junior partnership, I ween, was the only ship I ever had seen.
Was the only ship he ever had seen.
But that kind of ship so suited me that now I am the ruler of the Queen's Navy.
But that kind of ship so suited he that now he is the ruler of the Queen's Navy.
I grew so rich that I was sent by a pocket borough into Parliament. I always voted at my party's call. I never thought of thinking for myself at all.
He never thought of thinking for himself at all.
I thought so little. They rewarded me by making me the ruler.
He thought so little they rewarded he by making him the ruler of the Queen's Navy.
Now, landsmen all, whoever you may be, if you want to rise to the top of the tree, if your soul isn't fettered to an office stool, be careful to be guided by this golden rule.
Be careful to be guided by this golden rule.
Stick close to your desks and never go to sea. And you all may be rulers of the Queen's Navy.
Stick close to your desks and never go to sea, and you all may be rulers of the Queen's Navy.
Thank you, Richard. I know you've done a lot of other things with NIGAS. Would you like to comment a little bit about what it's like, the different aspects of doing roles such as this one?
I really never set out originally to do many of the patter roles. I was more interested in singing, and therein lies the difference, I think. I find the major difference in doing the roles that I usually do, which are more what I think of as the singing baritone roles as opposed to the patter baritone roles, is that you create a character for both types. You know, they've got to be, the singing baritone can't just sing. He's got to be an actor. But the words come to the fore when you're a patter baritone. It doesn't matter if the tone is so round, if the tone is always so pretty, if the tone is, it's got to be incisive. But that's what suddenly it's like Don't think about the tone, think about the words.
What do you think about this particular character that you sang about in this song?
Well, I think this is a man wonderfully out for himself. He really is. He's the center of his own world, and that is the world that he lives in. He is not concerned about your feelings. He's not. He's an unpleasant character, I think, really, as a person, but he's so charming.
There's also a relevance to what's the difference between recording for a camera as opposed to singing on the stage of a large theater.
Tremendous, isn't it? Because we're all facing this right now a great deal. But you've got to remember that your audience is 2 or 3 feet in front of you. And when you're doing the camera, and we're thinking, when we performed at City Center, that those upper balconies are a long way away, or in the past, Wolf Trap or some of the outdoor venues which we performed, right, where the audience has a vague chance of seeing the minor facial expressions. With the camera, that's a big expression.
So, Richard, we've been talking about other aspects of your involvement with Gilbert and Sullivan, but how did you get started with G&S?
I was born very happily into a family that very sweetly pushed me into Gilbert and Sullivan. My aunt had produced Gilbert and Sullivan, and she was a high school teacher. My father had been in her high school productions. He was her younger brother. And she played me H.M.S. Pinafore, a recording of H.M.S. Pinafore. A father who was a consummate musician and who adored Gilbert and Sullivan and light opera, and as I said, had been Sir Joseph Porter in high school. So he loved that. And my mother was British and had a great and wonderful flair for words and love of words. She loves all the great word writers like Jane Austen and Noel Coward and Gilbert and Sullivan. And she had grown up with Gilbert and Sullivan, so it was greatly encouraged. Somebody wanted me to do Gilbert and Sullivan because I was just born into the right circumstances.
During your years at the Metropolitan Opera, you would occasionally do something at the Met, run up to the Symphony Space at 96th Street and do a G&S in between something else at the Met.
I also did do The Sorcerer several times in the middle of Parsifal, performing Parsifal. Act 1 from 6 to 8 at the Met, run into a cab, get up to Symphony Space, be there in time to sing Angelina off stage for Trial by Jury, the Angelina echoes. Get into makeup for Dr. Daly, sing Dr. Daly, run back down to the Met, and it would be just about enough time for me to throw on my costume and go on for the third act of Parsifal. And this really did honestly happen several times.
Thank you, Richard, for your insights and your great performance of Sir Joseph.
Thanks, Al. Thanks for having me here. I really enjoyed it.
Sir Joseph has a lot to say about himself, starting when he was a lad, as he says. There are 6 verses, 20 bars each. It's not boring. Sullivan managed to get 6 verses with 20 bars each, 11 B-flat major chords in every verse, and there's so much joy in it. And the way Richard does it, Richard, of course, could never be boring, just brings it to life with the simplest material. And the repetition makes it all the more delightful when the chorus comes in and repeats each line. And you just glory in the thought of somebody who's completely incompetent getting this very high-powered position.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Patterpalooza Project, an exploration of Gilbert and Sullivan patter songs and the people who perform them. On behalf of New York Gilbert and Sullivan players, I'm Albert Bergeret, and we hope to see you next time for another classic Patter Bite.
Now, landsmen all, whoever you may be, if you want to rise to the top of the tree, if your soul isn't fettered to an office stool, be careful to be guided by this golden rule.
Be careful to be guided by this golden rule.
Stick close to your desks and never go to sea. And you all may be rulers of the Queen's Navy.
Stick close to your desks and never go to sea, and you all may be